Apparently I stared too hard on the camera.
Yo! What's up, guys? Chris Tutela, alongside my man, my brother from another mother,
Ruben Borges.
And this is episode number
15.
15. I almost forgot where we were.
Almost. 15, that's all right. It is 15.
Episode 15 of TTS Talk. Again, guys, thank you so much for your support, for your questions, for your comments, for watching the show, for tuning in. It really means the world to us. So let's keep on building this thing, and thank you guys so much for all of your support. And today we want to do an episode for you guys because, so I think it was this week I posted a video on my Instagram of 5 drills that you could do to help alleviate low back pain. So some of the most common issues that we deal with are lower back and shoulder issues, right? So the other day I put out a video on my Instagram of the 5 drills that you could do to really alleviate stress in the upper back. And we're going to talk about why those drills are important and why you don't just stretch the lower back, A, and B, why you just, these issues are not just, oh, I have to go to the chiropractor or I have a herniation in a disc, like which, you know, that very well may be possible, right? However, a lot of times low back pain is coming from another area. So
I think a lot of times you could also, people have trouble wondering how long to hold it for, how many sets to do it for beforehand, and I think this is going to be a big help for those who don't know how long to hold their stretch for, or what specific stretch to hold for, what specific body part is actually bothering them. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, so, excuse me, so what we want you guys to understand is that when you have pain in a specific area, that doesn't necessarily mean that the area that hurts is the problematic area, right? A lot of times, you have to remember and think of the body as a kinetic chain, right? So somewhere along the chain, you have a mobility restriction, tightness, something of that nature, and that now the pain is kind of manifesting in a different area of the body. So oftentimes, when you have lower back pain, a lot of times there's not an actual issue with the lower back at all, and more often than not, the problematic area is the hips, the quadriceps, the hamstrings, and even the glutes on occasion, but mainly it's the hips. Like from my experience, you know, we've done a lot of hamstring stuff, and now of course all that stuff's important, but the hips, the hip flexors, the hip rotators, those are primarily the culprits.
Yeah, I believe so. And notice through the clients that we've had and members we've had here, as they're prehabbing and doing this and working through the hip flexor stretching, you hear less issues with their lower back, and with their lifts they don't complain as much.
Yeah, like people that have alleviated their back pain, right? Like those are the guys that have really been here and working. And number one, more important than not, like the number one way to prevent injury is to get strong in the fundamental human movement patterns. Because look, not only are you going to develop strength, stability in those patterns, right? But you're also going to develop mobility simultaneously. So when you're doing proper strength training through the full range of motion, you're going to develop mobility in those problematic areas too, as well. So
like a hip hinge.
Yeah. Let's talk like an RDL, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, RDL, hip hinge. So as you're working that movement, you're getting stronger. Strengthening your glutes and your hamstring. You're also, it's a great stretch.
A dynamic stretch for the hamstrings, right?
Dynamic stretch. The mobility increases, and I've noticed every time someone perfects the hinge a lot better, let's say they've been here for 2 months and they're finally getting the hinge down, less lower back pain, they feel a lot better, they're more mobile, and not just the hinge, it's their squat that's better, and all the other movements, it all comes together.
And contrary to what people want to believe is that like, a lot of people associate doing those movements with hurting themselves. Like a lot of the general population that doesn't have experience training might say, I don't want to do that exercise because I don't want to hurt my back. Well, it's like, you might need to do that exercise because your lower back hurts, or because you're at risk of hurting your back because you have no strength, no stability, no mobility in those patterns.
I would say within the last 5 years, that was something big that I've noticed is the hip hinge. And when they're learning their RDL movement pattern, as soon as someone, you know, it's 1 week to come in, like, excellent, you got it down. I mean, every other department of their strength increases. Upper body, lower, everything. They just, the coordination's there, their core strength's there, mobility,
body awareness, body control, learning learning how to move.
That specific movement, it's hard. It can be difficult for someone the first time ever doing it. But as they go through the regressions and they slowly progress, once they get to, say, just a normal level of the RDL, everything else increases and they're ready to go, you know, and you see their strength gains come real quick.
Excuse me. And another thing too is like that's for the gym bros out there, the guys that do go and train, but maybe they put a ton of weight on a bar and they want to squat and they're not getting anywhere near full range of motion. Now there's a zillion reasons why that's bad, but another big issue there is you're not going to develop the mobility, right, or stability, or, you know, we talk about strength and all that stuff, but since we're on the topic of mobility right now, but you're not going to develop the proper mobility that you want that could alleviate some of that pain that you may be feeling, right? How many guys do we know that are pretty strong, pretty jacked dudes, but they're not training through the full ranges of motion, and now they have back issues or shoulder issues or whatever else.
To go back what you were saying too, you're saying a lot of people are afraid to do these movements because they're afraid to get hurt, and it's because of that. They don't do the movements properly, they don't pick the proper load, you know, they go too heavy, and yeah, sure, you are going to hurt yourself because you're not training smart.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you're talking to a guy who was training 10 years ago and he was, you know, putting a ton of weight on the bar that he shouldn't have been doing, didn't use proper technique, didn't go through the full range of motion and hurt his back. Yeah, no shit, you hurt your back.
You tried to do 15 again.
You were supposed to squat 135 and you put 405 on the bar.
Yeah, that's good.
We have to be smart about what we're doing and we have to train through full range of motion, right?
Absolutely.
So simultaneously that will develop strength and stability, but will also give you the mobility that could alleviate some of that pain that you're feeling in other areas. Now, with that said, once you have that foundation laid, right, because of course we've talked about it time and time again, true strength training through full ranges of motion is going to be the number one thing to prevent injury and give you your baseline for mobility. Because you can have some people like who do yoga all the time and are hyper flexible, right, but don't have the strength, right, and now they're so mobile that they could put too much stress on their joints or whatnot. So developing strength so you have the stability along with the mobility is super important. Now, with that said, once you have that foundation, you could start to dive in to those problematic areas that each individual may face, right? Now, without us going through our assessment protocol and all that, it's hard for us to say, oh, this is your issue. But generally speaking, there are 5 drills that we could use to really open up the hips, right? And we want to take you guys through that today. But first, let's go over what they are. So the first one that we're going to do is to open up a hip rotator called the piriformis, right? Which is commonly tight, and when it is, it's constantly pulling down on that lumbar spine and causes stress in the low back, right?
And this is the one that you see where most people tell you they have low back issue, and you'll let them know. We always let them know that, hey, maybe we just have tight hips. And as they're doing this for the next going months, you know, you see a lot of improvement.
Right.
A little pain-free mostly.
And then the second drill that we're going to do is a hip flexor and quadricep stretch, okay? So the hip flexor, or one of the main hip flexors that we're trying to target here is the psoas. So the psoas, you may have heard of it. It's becoming, you know, people are becoming aware of that muscle, but it's a very large hip flexor that runs from the front of the hip and is actually connected to the bottom portion of the thoracic spine. So when that's pulling down on the spine, if that muscle is tight, that causes a ton of low back stress and pain, and a lot of people aren't aware of that. Now, I like to do this stretch. It's a huge bang for your buck because simultaneously it's going to hit the quadricep as well. Now, when the quads are tight, again, those quads are pulling down, it puts stress on the psoas, and as a chain, all this musculature is tight, causing stress in the lower back.
It all comes together, yep.
Then the third stretch we're going to do is a Cossack Squat that we're going to go over, which is like a dynamic strength exercise. It could be done with body weight for the sake of mobility. And if you have trouble balancing with this one, we'll give you a different variation that you could do. The fourth drill that we're going to do is called the frog stretch, or Ruben calls them Saturday nights. He'll show you why later. But those are incredible for opening up those adductors, right? Yeah. And the groin. Then the fifth and final one that we're going to do is the static Spider-Man stretch. So why don't we go through it so you guys have a visual. And Coach Rubencito, you ready to get flexible today?
Yeah, because I need it.
Yeah, this guy is like a piece of wood. So, all right. So first thing we're going to do is the rolling piriformis stretch. Cameraman, how we look?
Spot cameraman.
Is this good for you? Give us the thumbs up. in front of the camera so the viewers can see, please.
The thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Nice, cool.
Okay. Okay. Why don't we do this side Coach, so they can see it a little bit. Right. All right. So the first thing that you're going to want to do for this rolling piriformis stretch is you want to sit with good posture at the end of a bench or seat. You want to keep your knee bent approximately somewhere between 90 degrees and this foot flat on the floor. Okay. Now with good posture and in this position, this hand is going to block, let's just say your shoelaces, just to prevent your foot from sliding off your leg. So we're going to keep it here like this. Now from here, Rube's going to apply pressure downward on this knee. Okay. Once he starts to do that, he's going to feel a good stretch in this hip. Holy hell, man! It feels like a rock. What's wrong with you? Right. Oh shit. Okay. So
solid muscle.
So do you feel that so far, Coach?
Yeah.
All right. So now what Rube's going to do is he's going to bring his chin down to his chest, and he's going to pull himself down towards that leg while he maintains pressure on this leg. Is that as far as you can get?
Oh yeah.
That's horrendous, just so you guys know. Now, so when he comes down like this, the stretch here is getting much more intense. So he's going to hold it. We would have you guys hold it for about 2 full seconds. So 1 1,000, 2 1,000, and then he's going to roll back up to the starting position. He's not going to lose the tension here. He's going to keep that down, and then he's going to roll back down, but don't lose your posture. He's going to come back down for 1, 2. He's going to come up and keep this pressure down. Come up. And now he's going to roll down again. And he's going to come down. His chin's going to be down to his chest. 1 1,000, 2 1,000. Now guys, you can do this. It depends on how much time that you have. If you have time to do 3 sets of all of these exercises first thing in the morning, let's do it. If you want to do them throughout the day, 3 sets throughout the day, that's fine too. We'll get more into the specifics on how to program it, but first I want to go over the drills, all right? So it's really going to depend on how much time you have to dedicate to this stuff.
For now, just think 3 sets of 10, maybe 15, 20 minutes before we start working out.
Simple. Now, the second thing we're going to do is the hip flexor and quadricep stretch. So what you're going to do, now for this drill, you could use either a bench, or if you have a chair around a similar height, something you could use at home that you can put your foot up. Just make sure it's something comfortable where you're not just destroying your foot. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your foot up onto the bench, okay? If you have the ankle mobility, like this is the way we would like you to do it, is keep your laces down against the bench. You're going to use your hands to help you get into position. Your back knee will be on the ground, as you can see, and this front foot will be flat. Now from here, Rube's going to get into a good posture position, okay? From there, you might already start to feel that in your quad, do you? Okay, so it depends on how tight your quadriceps are. Okay, if you want to get a little bit more stretch in the quadricep, you're going to bring your glute nice and close to your heel. But from here, what we're going to do is Ruben is going to simultaneously bring his hips forward as he brings his hands up. So he's going to push his hips forward, like he's pushing his hips towards that wall, and he's going to bring his hands up. Now he's going to feel that up here in the abdominal area, and he's going to feel it also in that hip flexor. Do you feel it, Coach?
Yeah.
Okay? He's going to hold that for 1 1,000, 2 1,000, and then he's going to come back. He's going to drop his hands. Don't tip over. He's going to come back like this, so he puts more of that stress on the quadricep there. And then he's going to repeat it. Push his hips forward. 1 1,000, 2 1,000. Come back. And then he's going to repeat. He's going to reach up now, higher, higher, higher. The idea, what we want you to do is challenge the range of motion with every rep that you do. So with each rep, try to get a little further and further out. What you can do, maybe on your second or third set, is actually, pause for a second, Coach, come down all the way. Nope, come down. Step out a little further. This will put more stress on the hip flexor when he steps out a little further, so now that stretch will be a little bit more intense when he brings his hips forward. Okay? So that's how you could progress that. Don't try to do that after 1 rep. Warm that hip flexor up, and then start to step out a little bit.
You'll feel it with each and every rep that you're able to gain more range of motion.
And guys, make sure that you do both sides. We're only showing you one side, okay? But make sure that you do both. All right, so Coach, face the camera now. Now guys, what we're going to do is called the Cossack Squat, and we're going to show you how you can make it easier if you don't have balance. Okay, but the first thing you're going to do, if you're familiar with this, you're going to place your hands like you're saying a prayer in front of your chest. Okay, what Ruben's going to do is he's going to keep his right foot nice and flat on the ground, and he's going to come down towards that right side, right? As he does, he's going to take this toe and he's going to rotate it up and turn it up to the ceiling, and he's going to try his best to keep his chest up. Now, like I said, Ruben's like a piece of wood, so he doesn't have the best hip mobility here, so he's going to give it a shot. So he's going to come down, and he's going to turn this toe up. Turn that toe up. So turn the toe up. Turn the toe up. Okay, now hold it for a second. So he's going to try to posture up, and he's going to hold that for 1, 2, and now you're going to come up, Rube, and now back this way towards me. Come to the left side now, and turn that right toe up to the sky. Keep that left foot nice and flat. Guys, the idea is you want to keep this left heel on the ground, or the side that you're coming to, because if that heel leaves the ground, that's where you're going to start putting stress on the knee. So he's going to come up and over, right over, right over, right over. Sit, 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 sit. Turn this up, and now he's going to come up and over to me. Up, right away, over, over, over. Turn that up. Hold it for 1, 2, up and over, right away, right away, right away. Keep the chest postured up. 1, 2. All right, guys, this stretch right here, this drill, I should say, this exercise, absolute game changer, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a simple one that you could work in. Now, if you don't have the stability, if you find that heel coming off the floor, if you really can't hold yourself in a good position, if you're falling over, we're going to show you what you can do. You can take a simple plyo box, or anything at all that you have around this height, or just even if it's just a chair or something that you can hold on to, put it in front of you. You're going to get set the same exact way. And now you're going to use that for balance. So you're just going to kind of use that as a guide, something to hold on to. So up and over. Up. You can put your hands flat on top of it if that helps. All right, so it's just kind of assisting you with your balance. All right. But remember, the idea here is to really open up that groin area, loosen everything up dynamically. Makes a world of difference.
Yeah, I recommend doing that, guys, before any big squat days, like a prehab or even a primer exercise.
Yeah, it's something that I've really worked into my routine. I mean, and this is actually a strength movement, like we mentioned before. You could load this. Like if you get strong enough, you could put chains around your neck. You could grab a dumbbell and hold it in a goblet position, right? So there's a ton of ways that you could actually progress this. Now, the next thing we're going to do, these are the frog stretch. How's this angle here, cameraman?
Good, let him set up.
Is this too hot for TV?
Oh, God.
He's good.
Gross.
Say that again, I'll blow my brains out. All right, so the frog stretch. So, Rube, do me a favor, just face the camera for a quick second, because I don't want to look at your ass anymore. So, when you get set, you want to set your knees you want to get set on the inside of your knees. So you don't want to be on the actual patella, on the kneecap. You kind of want to be on the inside of your knees here, so you open up. Now, look at Ruben's feet. Notice his toes are pointing out, right? On both sides, his toes are pointing out. Can we get that in the camera? Mm-hmm. Okay? And now he's going to kick his feet out a little bit, okay? And he's going to keep his elbows nice and straight. Now, from this position, notice Ruben's hips. So, Rube, do me a favor. Face that way now so the camera can see you. Okay. So he's on the inside of his knees. His toes are out. His elbows are straight. What Ruben's going to do is take his butt and he's going to drive it straight back to the wall behind him. When he does, that stretch is going to get very, very intense. He's going to, again, hold it for 1, 2, and then he's going to release. He's going to come forward. And now he's going to come back. 1, 2, he's going to release, okay? And again, he could do that for 10 reps, 12 reps, but you want to do it, and you want to do it in this sequence, I feel, because it helps open everything up before you get to this one, because if you try to go to that from the get-go, you might be a little too locked up still, so this kind of warms and loosens everything up first and foremost. All right? Coach, how you feeling?
Oh, this is good.
All right, you want to pop up? Actually, you can stay there. So, I don't want to watch you hump the floor anymore. It's making me sick. So, guys, the final drill we're going to do is called a static Spider-Man stretch. Oh. Right? There's probably some weird yoga term that I don't know, but I call it the static Spider-Man stretch. So the first thing you're going to do is pop up into a push-up position. Now, the other stretches we did were more dynamic. This is more of a static stretch. So what that means, we're going to get into a position and we're going to hold it. Now, what Ruben's going to do is he's going to take his left foot and he's going to step outside of his left hand. Okay. Now from here, he's slowly, very slowly going to bring his back knee, his right knee, to the ground. Okay. Now, Ruben, do you feel that?
Yeah.
So Ruben's palms right now are flat on the floor. His hands never change position. His elbows are still nice and straight. Okay. This right here, that's perfect range for Ruben. Okay, because it's a little too tight for him to get down to his forearms. But just so you guys know, in order to progress this stretch, if Ruben were to get down onto his forearms, that's going to make the stretch much more intense. But only do that when you're ready for it, okay? But you're going to get in this position, and now you're just going to hold for at least 30 seconds, okay? You're going to do 30 seconds each side. So Ruben, just switch up for me. Do the other side. This way we don't leave you imbalanced. So again, push-up position. He steps his right foot outside of his right hand. He's going to try to keep his palms flat. He brings his left knee down to the ground. And now he's going to push his hips forward. And he's really opening up that psoas, those hip flexors, and loosening up everything. And you can relax. How are you feeling, Coach?
I feel great.
Do you really feel great?
I do actually, yes.
Okay.
I feel brand new.
All right, cool. So, guys, those are 5 stretches that you could really do anywhere. The only thing you need is a chair to sit in. I mean, Coach, do you have anything that you want to add on any of that stuff?
I know some people might think, oh man, that's a lot to do before, or whether you just get lazy or you just kind of get bored really quickly. At least pick one and do it efficiently, do it the right way. I mean, and from there you kind of can progress. So pick the one that hits you the most, that you need the most. Do it for 3 sets of 10 each side. You'll start seeing a difference.
You're the host with the most.
That's right, brother.
So, yeah. So, guys, like you were saying, you could use this for prehab, meaning before you start your strength training for the day, before you start your warm-up, do this for 5-10 minutes. Each exercise, whatever you do, just make sure it's balanced, right? So if you want to do 2 sets, even if you want to do 1 set of each exercise that we just did, or if you have time, you can do 2 sets or 3 sets. The dynamic stuff, anywhere from 8 to 12 reps each side. And the static holds, just make sure you're doing about 30 seconds. That one I would suggest you get at least 2 sets in, because you want to really open that up a little bit more. Give it time. Yeah, give it time to loosen up.
More loose, yeah, after the second, definitely.
Yeah, no doubt. So, guys, I hope that this was helpful for you. Again, you don't have to live with the low back pain you're dealing with. A lot of times, more often than not, that lower back pain that you're feeling is coming from tight hips, tight quadriceps, so we have to address it. And again, these are very generic, but they're generic because they work, right? Yeah. So everybody could use them, unless you feel a weird issue in a knee or a back. When you get into a position, then of course, then don't do it. But for the most part, most people can handle these. So give them a shot, work them into your program. You could do them in prehab. You could do them in the morning when you first wake up. You could do them in the evening. If you get a minute at work and you want to stretch out a little bit, like our cameraman's doing now, you could absolutely take the time to stretch out a little bit during lunch if you have comfortable clothes. You know, it's good. Also, you mentioned earlier that a lot of people sit for most of the day. All right? Listen, if you were standing one spot all day, that's not great either. It's best to have a blend and to move, right? So sit a little bit, stand a little bit. Sometimes when you're standing, if you move around, move your feet, you could actually take your shoes off if you have that luxury at work and kind of lacrosse ball your feet. That's great to do. But when you're sitting home watching TV, if you're Netflixing and chilling, as long as you're not smashing cheeks, try to work on your mobility here. Yeah, exactly. but take that time where you're just kind of hanging out watching TV to address your mobility, because that is an absolute game changer and could really save your lower back. And it's worked for me tremendously.
Yeah, it'll make all the difference in the world, and you'll actually start to notice gains. And especially, let's say your range of motion, your squat is not where you want it. Doing these mobility drills, you'll see a change there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So guys, I really hope this helps. If you have any questions for me, you can hit me up at Chris_Tutela on Instagram, or you could email me, chris@tutelactraining.com, or you can hit up my man here.
Guys, you always can DM me on my Instagram at underscore Ruben RUBEN underscore Borges BORGES.
The only problem is
questions.
he might respond at about 3:58 a.m. So just be careful with
And
that.
that'll be creepy.
So guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope this helps. As always, we will catch you next week on another episode of
TTS Talk.
Yeah, buddy. Hold on. What are you doing?
I was trying to do a high five thing.
What's up, everybody?
Ruben Borges. That's
If my
me.
finger would have went in your ear, I would have killed myself.
You know, a person's coming in here, and what do they say, Coach? I was saying they're sitting most of the time during the week.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So sometimes that's funny when you continue to sit and when you sit. I don't know, maybe he's picturing a fart.
Because I was in the middle, you go sitting. Sitting most of the time.
I thought you paused. I thought you were like waiting for me.